Have you ever woken up from a dream and just thought, that was wild? Maybe you were, I don't know, soaring above the clouds.
Or trying to solve some bizarre puzzle.
Exactly. And the moment you try to pin it down, it just evaporates.
Yeah.
It feels so real, but it follows no logical rules whatsoever.
It really is the ultimate puzzle our mind presents us every single night. And for most of history, people either dismiss dreams as, meaningless neurological static.
Or they went the other way.
Completely.
Right.
They treated them as literal prophecy messages from the gods or windows into the future. But then right at the turn of the 20th century, Sigmund Freud just flipped the entire conversation on its head.
He really did. He didn't just study dreams, he gave them this profound new purpose. Freud believed that dreams are not arbitrary at all.
Not in the slightest.
Instead, they're telling us crucial things about what we really feel and want. They're like indicators of our deepest, often hidden thoughts. The question is, how do we read that indicator?
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We're jumping into excerpts from Decoding Freud, a guide to dream interpretation, which simplifies his massive foundational 1899 work, The Interpretation of Dreams.
So our goal here is to give you a framework, a reliable way to start comprehending your own dream life.
Yeah, we're essentially trying to give you a personal guide to Freudian analysis.
Okay, so before Freud could even establish his own framework, he had to clear the field. In his first chapter, he meticulously reviews all the existing scientific literature on dreams.
And he finds it all pretty unsatisfying.
Wildly unsatisfying. He noted that the prevailing opinions were all over the place. Everything from, physical irritation causing dreams to that prophetic status you mentioned.
What's so fascinating, though, is that even as he's dismissing the conclusions of his predecessors, he sort of adopts their core observation.
Which is?
That dreams are intimately connected to our waking life. He really emphasizes this crucial link between dreams and our daily experience. The material isn't just conjured from thin air.
That's such a critical starting point. The material of dreams is definitely not random static.
Oh.
It's built from fragments of our memories and experiences, encompassing both the past and the present. It's like a collage the mind makes every night.
Which brings us right back to that universal experience you mentioned at the start. The flying dream. If you frequently dream of flying, or any recurring vivid image, how exactly does Freud's method help you move past just the literal image of flying and understand what it actually means?
To understand that, we have to look at his analytical method, which he first demonstrated with his famous example.
The dream of Irma's injection.
Exactly. It's the ultimate case study in how to approach these bizarre images our minds produce.
The method involves a logical, almost systematic dissection of the dream. Imagine you dream you received an odd, maybe slightly painful injection while at a casual party.
You'd wake up thinking, what a weird, meaningless little scene.
But Freud instructs the analyst to dissect every single detail. The setting, the people, the feelings you had, the sequence of events. Everything matters.
So the goal isn't just to retell the story. It's to dig deeper, to go beyond that superficial narrative. And this leads directly to the crucial distinction that underpins everything he wrote. The difference between the manifest content and the latent content.
Okay, so the manifest content is simple. It's the story you remember, the surface narrative. I was at a party, I got an injection, it was odd. That's it.
And the latent content.
That's the hidden, deeper significance. That's the thing the dream is really about. So in the Irma case, the latent content wasn't about the injection at all.
No, it was about Freud's own professional anxieties and his wish to shift blame for his patient Irma's slow recovery.
Precisely. The manifest content is almost a coded message or a smokescreen that's concealing the latent desire or anxiety underneath.
And this brings us to Freud's most critical, maybe most revolutionary idea, which he introduces early on in the text.
Which is that a dream is the realization of a wish.
That's such a bold claim. If every dream is the fulfillment of a wish, what about the absolutely terrible dreams, the anxiety dreams?
The nightmares, yeah.
The ones where you're being chased or you're falling or you've suddenly realized you forgot to study for a huge exam. Is Freud truly arguing that I wished for that kind of fear and stress?
That's the common challenge, and it's where his theory gets wonderfully complicated. Freud maintains the primary thesis. Every dream is rooted in wish fulfillment. But he says the wishes being fulfilled are often unconscious, infantile, or, crucially, they are wishes for punishment or for what he calls distress protection.
Ah, okay. So the bad dream about failing the exam isn't a wish for failure, but maybe A distorted fulfillment of a wish for punishment because you feel guilty about something else.
Exactly. Maybe you feel you've neglected your work or a friend. Or, as he noted, sometimes the wish is to re-experience a past trauma to try and master it. But overwhelmingly, the anxious dreams are fulfilling a masked secondary desire.
Let's use a clearer example from the source material.
Okay, dreaming of winning a sizable lottery, that's a very clear manifestation of a wish.
Right. It symbolizes the fulfillment of a desire for success or fortune. It might not be a conscious craving for the lottery specifically, but a deep-seated wish for financial security or maybe professional recognition.
It's always about the underlying desire, not the literal object. However, as we just saw with the anxiety dreams, these wishes, they rarely appear directly. If they did, we probably wouldn't need an analyst.
And this is where the concept of dream distortion becomes so important.
It's paramount. The mind takes the raw wish and depicts it using symbols and disguises.
So if you dream your friend is ill, it's rarely a hostile wish for them to suffer.
Almost never.
It might represent your own anxieties about health, with your friend just acting as a symbolic stand-in for illness in general.
And the wish, perhaps the wish for absolute health for yourself, is distorted into a more socially acceptable or less terrifying narrative.
The distortion is the mind's editor.
Yes. And if we look back at your flying dream, the latent wish might not be to literally defy gravity. It might be a wish for freedom from responsibility or a wish to achieve some lofty goal. The literal act of flying is just the beautiful distorted symbol the mind uses to express that.
That makes perfect sense. So let's dig into why. Why does the mind bother to disguise the wishes at all? If the dream is meant to grant the wish, why not just show us the fulfillment directly? Why all the complexity?
Distortion is primarily a mechanism for distress protection. It shields us from the intense discomfort that comes with expressing certain wishes directly, especially if those wishes are, socially unacceptable, frightening, or linked to deeply repressed anxieties.
It's a psychological safety filter. If I have a massive, aggressive ambition that I'm not ready to admit to myself, the dream hides it behind a more benign image.
To prevent you from waking up with a paralyzing sense of guilt or fear, absolutely.
So like in a dream where you're being pursued by a menacing figure, but every time you turn to look, the figure is obscured.
Or it transforms into something harmless, like an old teacher. That distortion is concealing the true significance. The shadow might represent a deep-seated fear or a moral transgression you're trying to outrun, but the dream work softens the blow, shielding you from confronting that true dread directly.
So the disguise is a protective art form. And Freud gave specific names to the techniques the mind uses to create this distortion, which he called dream work.
Right, but first let's look at where the mind gets the actual building blocks for these complex narratives.
The raw material.
Yeah, Chapter 5 details the source material for dream content, and Freud identifies two key types. First, the recent and indifferent material.
And these are the mundane, seemingly unimportant events of the day.
Exactly. A minor disagreement with the barista, a random phrase you saw on a sign, a quick conversation fragment you overheard.
The brain is essentially grabbing the leftover clutter from the day and using those benign fragments to construct the dream's setting and characters.
Precisely. These recent, indifferent events act as anchors, often because they have very low emotional value, which makes them perfect stand-ins to carry the emotional charge of a different, much more significant problem.
Okay, and the second, more profound source. The material that gives dreams their deep emotional weight.
That would be the infantile material. Early experiences, recollections from childhood. These can resurface and influence our current dreams.
The deep roots.
The deepest roots. Past emotions, unresolved childhood events, fundamental feelings that haven't been dealt with. Your adult anxieties are often grafted onto these older emotional templates.
That's fascinating, this idea of tying current high-stress situations back to a primal emotional landscape. Okay, now let's get into the manufacturing process itself, the mechanics of dream work. This is how that unconscious wish gets converted into the bizarre, confusing dream we remember.
Dream work is the engine of distortion. It's the process that translates the powerful latent thoughts into the symbolic manifest images. And we can identify two primary tactics here, which are really key for you to differentiate.
Let's start with condensation. Help us understand what condensation actually does inside the mind. Is it like editing, or is it more like merging files?
It's absolutely like merging files. Think of condensation as the mind's psychological zip file. It's the process of merging multiple concepts, experiences, or even individuals into a single, compact image.
So if I dream of a stern woman handing me a massive, heavy book, That single figure might symbolize 3 or 4 different people.
Right.
My mother's demanding nature, my boss's unreasonable deadlines, and the pressure of a looming presentation. All those anxieties are condensed into that single dream character.
Exactly. It achieves maximum emotional representation with minimum space. It's incredibly efficient.
Okay, so what's the second key technique?
Displacement. This is where the mind performs a kind of emotional bait and switch.
This is that emotional redirection we touched on earlier, right?
Yes. Displacement is the mechanism that transfers the emotional charge from a major important element to a minor trivial one. The anxiety is still present, but its subject is trivialized, which helps with that distress protection we talked about.
Okay, let's contrast these two using the flying dream again.
Yeah.
If, in my flying dream, my wings are painted with the logo of my childhood elementary school,
Yeah.
that's condensation.
Yes, the logo is a single image representing multiple childhood feelings of, say, vulnerability and freedom all at once.
Okay, now if I wake up not worried about flying or falling, but I'm obsessing over the fact that the sky in the dream was slightly the wrong shade of blue.
That is displacement. The
Ah.
terrifying emotional charge of feeling utterly exposed while flying has been successfully displaced onto the trivial concern of color. Your mind has diverted your attention.
That is a fantastic way to differentiate the two. It's so clear that Freud isn't just offering interpretations, he's mapping the internal structure of the mind.
He really is. And in his final chapter, he links these dream concepts to broader psychological ideas, expanding his scope beyond just nightly analysis.
One major element he tackles is the mystery of why we forget our dreams so often. If they're so meaningful, why do they vanish so quickly once we're awake?
I think we all know that frustration. You feel like you had the key to the universe 5 seconds ago.
And now it's just gone.
Freud suggests the content can be so raw, so filled with those distorted, suppressed wishes and anxieties, that our waking mind actively tries to suppress it the moment we wake up. We forget them because the mind perceives the latent content as a threat to our conscious equilibrium.
And he also introduced the concept of regression. How does that fit in?
Regression is this idea that dreams have the power to transport us back to earlier developmental phases.
So it was like the mind hitting an emotional rewind button.
That's a great way to put it. A regression to a previous psychological state is reflected when a dream revisits specific worries or emotional memories from infancy or early childhood. It's the mind trying to solve a current adult problem using the highly symbolic, often visual logic of a child's mind.
So to synthesize this entire framework then, we start with the core psychological truth that wish fulfillment is the ultimate goal.
Right.
But to protect us from internal conflict, the dream work through tactics like condensation and displacement distorts that wish, often drawing on infantile material in a process of regression.
It truly is a complete, elegant psychological system operating every single night. The genius of Freud was realizing that the confusing nature of the dream isn't a flaw in the system.
It is the system.
It is the function of the dream. The obscurity is the protection.
Wow. Okay, so we have successfully navigated the intriguing realm of dreams from Freud's perspective. We've moved from these arbitrary notions all the way to the complex mechanisms of distortion and dream work. We've seen how his foundational theories provide this really comprehensive framework for mental operation.
And I think the most important application for you, the learner, is to remember that Freud's theories provide the tools, but dreams are intensely distinct and individualized. His framework helps you categorize the mechanisms, but your own introspection is absolutely key to unlocking the latent content.
Because only you know the full history behind the raw material.
Only you.
Absolutely. The mind's nightly goal is twofold then: to grant a wish and simultaneously to protect us from the distress of acknowledging that wish directly.
So here's a provocative final thought for you as you reflect on your next night's sleep. If the goal of your mind is both to grant a desire and protect you from distress, what might be the real, maybe even painful wish hidden behind the confusing, frustrating dream you recall most clearly from last night?
The truth is in the disguise.